time running over? Oh right, okay. Wow, sorry, I'm just at the start. Okay. Well then I should tell you about the piece I said I'd tell you about. We can ignore the other stuff. I have some scores and CDs, right, 19th century. If anybody wants to check it out later, I'll rush through then and just say that. I met him in 2005 in Dublin, just before he died actually. He had originally asked me to make other versions of this, which I thought was about 1997 or something, but I found the letter there and it's 1996, so to my shame it took me over 10 years to get around to it. But to be fair, I wasn't very good at programming, and he did send it to me in Fortran. Does anybody, like, this is a 1960s programming language, I didn't know what was going on. And, you know, I did make a version for when I got him over to England in 1998, and it worked, but I was using Macs, using MIDI, because I didn't have the other option, and I was using the Metro object to reprogram in real time for every voice, and so I just kind of fell down a little bit. It did work, but it was out of sync. But it was enough for him to realise that, yes, this is a nice idea. And when he, when I knew he was coming to Dublin, he was coming to Trinity, we could finally copy on. We went down to meet him, we had lunch, and I brought these things. I said, well, man, we must make these pieces, fine, we must make them. But I'd lost his original instructions for this retrograde version. And so we sat in this restaurant, and he worked it out, we worked it out. He worked it out. So there are photographs of me looking like I was working it out. He was working it out. And so, you know, he worked out how he could do it. So he had originally had this plan, it would be beautiful to make a retrograde version. But then he realized, actually, you know, you could make inversions of it too. And so those things are, I did make them. I started off by visualizing them in Flash. Any Flash guys? Yes, this is Action Script 2, and I haven't updated them. There we go. And you can see, very simple programming, it generates this shape. So you can tell, yes, this is right, without having to rely on music software and all. And I got the gist of it. So I made the tests, which I'll finish by playing. And I actually premiered it. I have this to set up on it. So we did this in the snow in Amsterdam, and it was very, very cool. We were so excited that look, see like magic. We got Gaudi to lend them their disc cover, lend us and move the disc cover, which was very cool. And they allowed us to retune it, which most people don't do, even though it's very, very safe, and we only tune down, never up, and all that kind of stuff. We got it, and we made what were beautiful recordings, and it all worked out fine. But actually, when I listened to recordings, I found that when it got really, really busy, the piano lost it. It ended up doing these glisses instead of playing the individual patterns, and so there's a very cool record company in America that wants to release it, but I'm not going to release those. I'm going to try again, and maybe make it here. To just see whether that was just my bad programming, whether it's to do with the latency of MIDI, or, you know, I think I probably didn't send any off signals or something. Anyway, or whether it's to do with I had to collapse for that machine. I had to collapse all 24 tracks into one. That might cause it anyway. But it did get lost, and that was really frustrating for me. So the next thing we're going to do, the next thing I'm going to do is try again to make these new versions in using a machine like this. And if not, then to go back to the very start of the thing, the Piano Museum in Amsterdam will do versions which are on real rolls. And you can't get that wrong, it's just air going through the thing, so you can play 24 notes in all the time, very, very simply. I'm sorry, I didn't realise I would babble so much. I had teed up these variations. Oh, and finally, I did make a version which I've ended up keeping called Accidental for Jim. And this is because when we were doing this maths, and my maths is so poor, every time we were going through the process, I would say, oh yeah, and then after the 8th voice, this comes in, that's going to be fine. Right? I said, no, that's wrong. That only works on this inversion, it doesn't work up there. Oh yeah, but so like that. So eventually he got a bit touchy, which he never ever did, and said, yes, and that's a beautiful piece, and maybe you should make it one day, but it's not this piece, right? So when I went around to try and make his pieces, I made the same mistake again. It sounded beautiful. So I kept it. It's not his, but it kind of is. So I'll finish by playing this, sorry for overrunning, I'll play one of the inversions, the first inverted retrograde that I made. This will be on the GarageBand piano sample, so be nice about that, but it does have all the rhythms and everything else in it. I'll finish that and then, you know, we can chat about it later when we do some shows. The parabolas come out much more in this beginning. But that's, you know, one of them. They're all on my website, or you can get them through, link to them through Jim's Wikipedia page. They're there if you fancy checking them out. Sorry for
thanks very much. Ciaran, can I ask just before everybody shows your enthusiasm for this, I'd like, for anyone who's not familiar with James Tenney's work, could you just clarify if there's an anecdote you have about Tenney's relationship with Cage and significant change in Cage's attitude to sound that Tenney's made before his death? I think this is something that sound enthusiasts here may not be aware of and might like to share now.
I'll just say it very quickly. It's about harmony. I did have that piece teed up to play as well. It's called Critical Band. I have the score of it here if anybody interested. It's simply 2 pages. It's a beautiful thing which begins from the tuning A of the ensemble that kind of fans out into this beautiful thing. Anyway, at the premiere, Cage was at the premiere, and after it he phoned Jim up and said, if that's harmony, this is after 50 years of writing, that harmony was a bad thing and evil and discriminatory and, you know, non-anarchist and, you know, privileged pitches, you know, all that. He'd been doing that for 50 years, and he rang up Jim and said, if that's harmony, I take back everything I've ever said.
Thanks very much for that, Ciaran. We're just going to do a very short tech changeover while Ciaran takes down stuff, and then we're going to prepare a small series of short films which incorporate works, both audio and visual, from collaborations of artists from a couple of different locations, both in and outside Belfast. So thanks for your patience, and there'll be more sound and images shortly. Thanks.
Very much because, you know, you know, I got